even though he was receiving retirement benefits, that was above and beyond that money?
It's a shift into a different category from active military to reservist.
Okay.
And they didn't inform anybody of it.
Mm-hmm.
So Anna wrote an article about what happened in 1958, and we need to get it into the hands of people who are part of our community, that they need to come forward and proactively look at themselves and correct their house. We up here in Washington have developed a checklist of the various kinds of contractual circumstances one may have with the de facto and be considered part of the population that is a shareholder in that British territorial corporation.
You don't feel like this will jeopardize anybody or anybody's retirement benefits, or put them under scrutiny that they can't withstand?
Nope, I'm retired. I receive SS and my pension. I worked for 35 years for the Boeing company. I worked in the Auburn, Washington commercial airplane complex. I was a NO 309 CNC machinist programmer when I left. I left December 1 of 2014 on my own terms. And I left because the company had gone under new management and had lied to me to the point I could no longer associate myself with it. And we now know how much big corporations have been lying in the landscape to us.
So filing these forms and papers, take us on through that process. What do we have to do after we sign these and have them notarized?
Okay, you go to your respective state assembly, and depending upon how well populated with recording secretaries your particular state is, you present these paperwork to the recording secretaries. They receive them, record them to the county to which you are living on, and into the state archive. They get recorded on something called the Land Recording Office, which is internationally accessed. We're going through a credential card revision. We figured out what was the de facto's heartache with what was already issued. That didn't have a signature and it didn't have an expiration date. And Anna did lean into him and said, you do realize we're living people, and when we expire, we're dead.
Yeah.
And she, in talking to the land of the dead, that, kind of shocked them. So when
you're talking about you, you're talking about me, because I'm considered dead. Is that correct?
Yep. So let me explain how they killed you.
Okay.
I would like you all to take a look at your birth certificate from your respective state. Now, the name on the birth certificate is not you. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
So, under an ancient Roman process, they deemed all of us to have had twins. We're a twin, and the other half that they know today as the afterbirth had a pulse, and the poor baby didn't make it and died. and that created the decedent estate, and the name on the instrument is given to the placenta. Okay?
The name on the birth certificate belongs to the placenta?
Yep, and that creates the decedent infant estate. And unbeknownst to you, you've been wearing the hat of the donor all of your life. You've been donating your life, blood, sweat, tears, and creation capacity to something called a usufruct.
How do you spell that? USAFRUCT. Usufruct. Okay.
So we have found out that when they were taking these various American masquerading corporations through bankruptcy, they probated the estate. So on your birth certificate, you have a birthday. That is when you, as the baby boy and girl, existed. And then they have a registration date. And that's when the birth certificate entity trust was created. They killed you on paper, probated your estate, and then the Vatican came in and bought the baby by birth weight and made it a municipal citizen. And under a centuries-old practice, the Crown of England and the Vatican did a 60-40 split on the estate and all finances. The Crown of England got 40%. Anna details it in one of her fairly recent articles.
Now, did Anna do all of this research and find all of this information?
Okay, the Federation
or did she have
of
a lot
States,
of help?
a lot of help. So the Federation of States is a body with about 900 people in it. And they're scattered all around the world by way of their expertise as researchers and subject matter experts. And they feed her this material that they discover.
Okay, good.
So the Federation of States is in possession of a original secondary copy of the corporation that Lincoln brought into the country. Now, Anna published a book. It's about 1.25 inches thick. And I would recommend people buy it and read up. And it's written in a format much where a 12-year-old could easily read through it like a comic book.
Okay, what's the name of it?
Oh, hang on here. I got to go over and get it. Okay, the book is titled, You Know Something Is Wrong When, ... And it's got a farmer couple on the front cover. It has some interesting, almost comic book style of read to it. And it's one of the assistant educational books. So when I was talking with you earlier today, Salty, this is why I use the salt and pepper and butter example. Because with the advent of the computer in the 90s, our thinking process has been rewired to being very visual. And this is why most of the younger set has a deficit in critical analytical style thinking. So think of the...
Well, what was really weird about how you did that, and I had to ask if you were looking through the holes in the phone, because you brought up salt, pepper, pepper and butter, and 2 napkins. And at that particular second, I was using salt and pepper and some butter with some soup with 2 napkins. And I'm like, are you looking through the holes of your phone? That just tripped me out. I mean, it was like, at that second is where he got that visual, and that's what I was doing. So that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
I started recording this call where we can go back and it won't be shared. It's just with us on here. But
That's
that
fine.
way we can go back and learn ourselves, if that's okay.
That's fine. I have no problem with a recording for us.
Yeah, and if you have recorded other things, if it's okay, and you, of course, you get full credit for it. But my goal is to try to get it out to as many people as I can. And if you have that and want to share it, I can put it on our website where under the Constitution where they can learn from it.
Okay, so if you go up on YouTube or Odyssey channel.
All right, let me go pull up YouTube Odyssey.
Yeah, it's on both of them.
Oh, it's on either one. Is that what you're saying? Or is the information's on both of them, Odyssey and YouTube? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Salty, just pull up YouTube, because are they all?
Yeah, I did. So.
And it's Grant County with Mike Brimage.
Well, I didn't find it. Oh. Now, is it okay if I, what do you call it? If I, are they going to tell me that that's copyrighted, or how do I do that?
Just get the link and post it. It's open sourced. It's we made it such that anybody can go to stuff and learn. Amongst all the states, we have agreed to share what we find. You know, information and knowledge is wherever you stumble across it. And then when you look down, you'll find out it's true. And most people don't look down to see what they just stumbled over.
Okay.
They're too busy. They just stand up, dust off, and move on. And they don't recognize stuff.
So is this on the website that you were speaking of about American States Assembly or whatever? You know what I'm talking about, I think.
You mean what I was speaking about?
Well, yeah, everything you spoke of and these forms, are they on the American Statesnational.org site?
Yeah, so when you scroll up, I posted a link earlier.
I can see all the public laws and the peace treaty and notice the
Okay,
prosecutor.
Go down to the bottom of the one page.
What's the name of that website, Mike?
hang on here. I'll just open it right up. Okay. Okay, the web header is TASA period American State Nationals period org.
What does TASA stand for?
CASA, the American States Assembly.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what the American States Assembly.
And I just posted it
In the room?
team room. Yep,
good,
in the team room. Okay, so when you go to this website and you go to the middle of the top header and it says important information.
I'm there. This is the same website we were on earlier.
Yep, and you go down to the bottom a little bit and it says streamlined correction process documents.
Oh, what did you go under important information? There's a one-page declaration, chart your course.
Yeah, one pager.
Go to the one pager. Okay.
Yeah, one page declaration. Okay. And then scroll down to the bottom. You'll go through a couple of gray white transitional zones. And when you break out toward the bottom, it says streamlined correction process documents. The left side it says 1779 declaration, and then the right side says other documents.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Okay. Now, most of the assemblies have adopted a process policy that they charge a certain fee when you show up with whatever you have in hand. So the goal is to show up with the most documentation and pay your fee one time.
Okay, so which documents do we need?
Well, I posted the one pager for an American, and then that was on the left side, and then the 2 witness testimony for a state notary. I posted that in the room.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, as a woman, you may have other documents that you need to post for, like you have young children, and you would do a baby deed for each of them.
Even if they're 40 years old?
If they're young.
Only if they're like under 18, you mean?
Under 21. In our jurisdiction, you're a full-fledged adult at 21.
Okay, I don't have any that are that young. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then the common carry declaration. When you correct your status as an American, you come back under the Declaration of Independence and the full-fledged Second Amendment. And what part of thou shalt not infringe does one not comprehend? So my credential card.
So does that give us the right to carry? Is that what you're saying?
Unrestricted lifetime right to carry.
Wow.
You don't have to ask for permission from your employees.
How confident are you of the lack of fallout and consequences if we stand and state our position and claim our rights and claim our name?
Okay, so there's a follow-on document there's been multiple versions of your name made. And you need to lay claim to them through a document called a deed of reconveyance. So there's the Todd. There's the Todd middle initial. The Todd middle initial period in upper lowercase and in all caps. So there are 6 versions of you sitting in different jurisdictions. That's why I was saying about the sailboat.
Okay.
Okay. And what you
I don't
do
see
is,
that paperwork. I don't see that one.
well, I can post it in the room.
You can scroll
Okay.
up from his original stuff where he entered the chat, and it's there.
Oh.
The deed of conveyance, I don't think I've got posted.
Okay. Yeah. There's the witness, notaries, and
Yep.
Yeah, I saw those. I saw the 2 witnesses and
The one pager.
and there was and the 1 pager. Yeah, there was I did see those 2 that you put in there.
So if you've had name changes because of marriage and you've been married a couple of times, you have to do that deed of reconveyance for each condition set of names. So
Wow.
you ladies may end up with quite the little stack of documentation under your deed of reconveyance.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there are 2 follow-on letters that we send back to the Treasury and the Instant Robbery Service and says, we're no longer volunteering to donate anything to you.
And this goes to who?
One goes to the IRS and one goes to the Internal Revenue Service. They are 2 separate entities. One is in the British territorial system and the other one is in the municipal citizen, in the muni side of stuff. So when FDR gave his radio fireside chat in the 30s, he committed both the U.S. citizen and the municipal citizen to pay off the bankruptcy debt.
Oh, that was sweet of him.
Yep. And then in 1937, he drug all of the judges into D.C. and said, from this time forward, you are to run nothing more than admiralty courts. And that's why you see the gold fringe around the flag.
Uh-huh.
So that flag in that courtroom is actually of a particular configuration and size proportion, and it's called the Article 4 War Flag. It was given on loan to our contractor, and this is something that needs to be comprehended. Of the 3 constitutions, they are actually power sharing agreements for business services. In the 1820s, if you said the word federal, the people of the time knew instinctively it meant contract government to provide services for us.
We don't know that now.
No, you can thank Jimmy Cheapmunk Carter for it.
Okay.
I happen to have gone through a school system where I got Pacific Northwest history, American history, U.S. history, and American-style civics that was taught from a book of the 1950s.
Well, I learned a lot more history than what they're teaching now, that's for sure.
Yeah. And so I've been at this process since I had a up close and personal experience with the Instant Robbery Service.
Which one is that? IRS. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Instant
instant
robbery
robbery
service. I got you.
And so, working for Boeing, I got a garnishment, and they took everything except for my child support and left me with $256 and some pocket change per month
To live
to
on.
live on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what really drove me into the research mode. And so since 1993, I've been going at this relatively hard. And so I have ties.
So is that what got you going on all of this?
Well, I have colonial ties to North Carolina. In 1775, my ancestor was the delegate for the North Carolina Congress, one William Brimage.
And was he a Tory? Is that what you were saying? I know
He
you had a
was
Tory in your.
He was up to his eyeballs in the British Admiralty stuff here.
Okay.
And his firstborn son, John, turned him into the local militia when the colonial war broke out. And that's
Amazing.
what got him disowned in the will in London.
And do you think that was because his son was born here and was more American than he was?
Oh, yeah. So John was born in Maryland in 1760 in the upper eastern end of Chesapeake Bay. And so he saw all the strife and everything in between, and oftentimes as he was growing up didn't see eye to daddy.
Yeah.
So in history, there's something called the Llewellyn Incident, and it was a Tory rah-rah rally, and the Tories got arrested, and my ancestor, William, was amongst that little crew.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of history that you can screen across the internet over the incident. So I have a certain taste for attorneys, I'll put it that way.
Are you going to post somewhere your YouTube channel? Because I looked for it and I didn't find it.
Oh.
I put down, let's see, I typed in, what did I type in? Let me go to it and see what I typed in.
I poked around and didn't find it either, our Jack. So
I typed in Granite County with Mike Grimmage.
Hang on here. Let me see if I, come on, go back.
If you could just send us one of your YouTubes, just copy the address up on the, your the address of it up at the top where it says youtube.com.
Okay. 2022. Okay, those are the state meetings. 2021. Hmm.
I don't know if y'all hear that, but that noise keeps going off. I put on snooze so that it would remind me to go post the planting seeds. I don't know if y'all been hearing that going off, but it has been.
Yeah, it's a constant reminder.
Yep, I need to go post the daily word pretty much.
Ah.
Yeah, I think we wore Miss Oki out early. She started recording real early. Well, I
Well,
think everybody
if she did four, I'm sure she is worn out. Yeah.
well, she did 3 and Loti did 1. So now that
Oh,
he's
okay.
got the how to do it, he's gonna help do half of them, and she'll do the other half.
Oh, that's
So
great.
they'll
Thank you,
trade off.
Lowtide.
Well,
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah,
don't
that
get
really
excited.
is.
Don't get excited. I'm still challenged every time I try to forward something. So I'll get
Well,
through it.
that's okay. It's teamwork. But I got the other one that you did
Yeah,
on the elderly, taxing
yeah,
with the elderly. I got that posted, and then I decided to wait because I'm gonna put do the
yeah,
little video like we did the other
yeah.
one. So
Okay.
it'll be up tomorrow.
Yeah, it should be pretty clear and concise, and I just read it. So
Yeah, it sounds good.
if you think it needs to be redone, just let me know.
No, no, it
It was
sounded good.
it was my first attempt, so it
Well,
is
you
what it
did a
is.
great job.
We'll see.
Well, on these Republic ones, if he's already got them done, and I can load those over on the Seeds of Wisdom one, uh, those will be topics for the room that we could just drop in one YouTube at a time to discuss. Let them listen to it and ask what their questions are, because
Absolutely.
he's already done all the legwork.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you can put them in the Constitution room too.
Yeah, that's what I just said. So they'll be
Oh,
on
okay.
Rumble, and I
Oh,
can
I
put them
thought you
on.
meant into any of the rooms, like the living room or something. But yeah, that the Constitution room is where they belong. Yeah.
Right. And so I'll put them over there, and I'll put them in I'll put them in podcasts and then in archives under Constitution, and then
Uh
put them
huh.
on the social media and get the word out there to get educated. Because
Absolutely.
we've got the disclaimers and all that stuff already, all that kind of stuff's done.
Yeah.
So Jim, can I ask you this? Are we going to set people's hair on fire?
I think so.
Well, when it comes to asking the question, does something smell wrong in the landscape?
Well, yeah.
Okay, so would you like to have some little filler details so that you can put things into context
Uh-huh. Sure.
and do it with a series of questions?
Okay.
Yep.
A lot of people have heard about the straw man and the tin man. And this was a disclosure of the Wizard of Oz movie.
Yeah.
Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lollipop Kids was human trafficking.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow.
But that was made in the 20s or 30s.
And so the yellow brick road was the gold leading to the city of Oz, DC. The wizard behind the curtain was the alien property custodian pulling the levers.
Wow.
So it's medicine. It's medicine that we'd have to. I can't sweeten it up, but it's medicine that people need.
Because most people suffer from an illness called propagandized belief.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too many of them believe that. Yeah.
Well,
Or suffer from that illness.
Yeah. And so remember a program called Perry Mason?
Yeah. Yeah.
We were Perry Masoned, Judge Janine, divorce court, all this TV stuff to drill subservient obedience. So when certain common use documents are explained, like the marriage license, it's actually a three-way partnership where the corporation known as the state, as issuer of the license to do something that would otherwise be illegal, known as a business proposition partnership, takes a priority interest in a product called children.
Yeah, they do take an interest in that.
So if you take and substitute the C for a K, it changes its enunciation to children.
Oh my
Children,
God.
if you go look up in, say, Bouvier's Blacks or Weiss's trust law book, you're going to get an eye-opener. So, okay, I gotta go here. Code of Federal Regulations 363.3 through 0.6 contains a lot of definitions. And people don't know that behind our back, our vocabulary has been changed up to funnel us into the pathway of a slave. So in 1858, second session of Congress, the Rump Congress, in preparation for Lincoln, changed the word and the definition to person and individual. Person in the day was man or woman. Well, they changed it to a corporation. And the word individual was some kind of person, which then begged the question of what am I looking at as to person? What kind of person is this? And we're not taught to think this way. We have been so trusting of our 2-mile-an-hour pedestrian society that the attorneys slid in here. We have the international bar, the U.S. bar, the American bar, and the American Inns of Court. And you're probably asking, what are the Inns of Court?
Yeah.
England was divided into 4 manageable regions, and they were assigned a very high court called an Inn of Court, and they are located in the inner city of London. So if you and I had a little matter and I took you into small claims court and wasn't satisfied, I could then march you through the court system and then take you up into the highest court known as an Inn of Court. Still not satisfied, I've only got 2 places to go. Queen's Bench and King's Bench. In the King's Bench, you literally stood before the king, laid down your cause, and when the king gave his decree, it was done. So my ancestor William, when he got arrested, the court in North Carolina banished him, told him to get off the continent, and he eventually ended up in London and stood before the crown and laid his stuff down. And the king said, well, I can't do much for you right now. I'm fighting these pesky Americans. And as the ancestor started turning away, he goes, halt. There is something I can do. And
What?
the king
I am chilling.
King,
I can't. It is
King made him the Attorney General for the Isle of Bermuda. This is why I know about the Inns of Court.
Wow.
Because once the Isle of Bermuda was vacated at the end of the colonial war period, the king made him a bencher in Gray's Inn of court. So he sat as a professor, a practicing judge, until his dying day. He lived in the inn.
Wow.
So the attorneys brought these inns here, and they're teaching institution and kind of like, I won't call them nightclubs, but it's a great place for just the attorneys to hang out after hours.
Well, do we have inns of court here? Is that what you were saying?
Yes, we do.
And what are they called here?
You'll have to look for them in your local area. They're usually wrapped around someone well known. And you're also going to find out highways and roadways have been named after senators under like a stage name or a pen name.
Okay. I know we have some roads here named after like Washington and some of the founders.
Mm-hmm.
Like a George Washington Highway,
Oh yeah, I think every state has one of those, even
probably.
if it's two blocks long.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lincoln Highway runs all the way across the country, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
This might be off the topic, but does the immigration situation play into this at all that we're experiencing right now?
Yeah, sadly it does. Okay, so the Gates Foundation, Moderna, Pfizer, all the big pharmaceuticals had Congress in 1986 assume liability for medications and compounding and everything. So the corporate rump Congress is ultimately an absolute oversight of everything that was in the jab.
You're telling me that Congress knew everything that was in that jab?
Congress assumed liability for all the ingredients. Go ahead. Tip over an outhouse. Put it in a syringe. You're good for it.
Jeez.
And how did they assume that liability? By act of a vote from all the states, or was it just surely this wasn't just a backroom deal.
No. So it was congressional legislation. So when our American Congress was set aside by Lincoln, he left our American part of the federal contractor arrangement empty. And so they assumed trustee and oversight position for us until we miraculously showed up. And it's been a corporate Congress for over 160 years. Think of Congress Inc., of the United States Inc., of the United States of America Inc., whether it's a British territorial corporation or a municipal corporation. And all corporations on the planet get their absolute oversight from the Roman Curie and the Pope. And it doesn't matter what language the board of directors speak. If it's an incorporated entity, it's controlled by Rome.
Sheesh.
Is it Rome or the Vatican?
Pretty much the same thing.
Good Lord.
Yep. So there's a lot of skullduggery that has happened to this country that has been withheld. So when Queen Anne stepped off the throne in 1707, she stepped onto something called the seat of the estates in the land of the dead. Elizabeth did the same thing. So these birth certificate estates under usufructuary management is what the crown has been managing for 3 centuries.
Do you know when the crown switched from being the crown to being part of the Rockefellers or the well, they were Germany people, or
Oh, that
maybe even
happened in the 1600s when they married in and took over.
oh, is that when it happened? But
Yeah.
I know that they weren't, you know, the bloodline moved from what it was to something totally different.
Mm-hmm. And
Are you,
so,
yeah, are you saying that we're talking about the bloodlines here? It's been well documented that the English crown was related to the Russian Tsar, and they were cousins, and they were related to the German royal seat, and the seat of Belgium and the Netherlands. So, I mean, we know it's one big family, but you're telling, I think what I've heard is that they're not really the seat. They don't have the seat of power as we've been told.
That's the way I understand it, that they were not there legally.
Huh.
well,
That
it's the intermarriage and the assumption of, I'll call it assets. And when you do that, they change their German name to an English Windsor, so it sounds more acceptable.
right, they changed the name too. Yeah.
Yep.
That
And
I
so,
remember that too. Yeah.
yep. So comprehending that England and is something separate from the UK. UK is a business. Great Britain is a business.
Separate business.
These are structures we're not taught properly.
Jim, is this information going to come out in like the 10 days of exposure when we do the RV?
Anna has already written about it and released it. At the top of that one page, AnnaVonRights.com, there is a little search bar, and you can type in word salad combinations and see what pops up, and it'll bring you into the articles that have those words in it. So if you type in, let's say, dead baby scam or international notice of fraud and treason. By the way, every attorney has been given international notice of fraud and treason against the American people effective December 23 of 2023.
Say that date again.
December 23rd,
Oh, okay.
fraud and treason.
Yeah, of 23.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? I mean, is that coincidence, or is that a specific date for a reason in the holidays?
I'm sure there is a technical tie to it, but I'm just not aware what that is.
Well, the eve of Christmas Eve, I don't know.
And I just posted the fraud and treason notice in the team page. So
Well, thank you.
every state gets a state level American government. It's the government of the people, for the people, by the people. Okay? And each state is actually a nation state under itself and has its own people. And then every county gets a county level assembly. And it is the root of the law of the land. So your county level courts run under American common law, known as the public law, have superior co-contemporaneous jurisdiction and override the corporate. But in order for people to access it, they actually have to be recognized as living American people. And that's part of what we're building or rebuilding. So all 50 states are into the States of the Union of States. We found out that the 34 states that existed prior to the Civil War had to unanimously admit the other 16 states that came into existence since 1860. And yes, Washington was one of them. So each state had to accept admission into the States of the Union. And that all took effect October 1, 2020. So Washington sits on an equal footing with Virginia, Maryland, Vermont, Georgia in the original 13 state setup.
Washington State or D.C., the district?
Now, what you just said needs to be discerned. There's Washington, which is a state of the union. Washington State is an actual trust mechanism. The state of Washington, upper lowercase letters, is a British territorial corporation that is a subsidiary of United States, Inc.
And that is that distinguished by the post offices then?
No, there's a corporate structure.
I thought
Now,
I thought the post office was essentially the location that held that charter or whatever that legal entity was.
well, which post office? The United States Postal Service, which is a British contracting corporation.
Yes.
Or the American Post Office in Philadelphia.
Yeah, well,
that's what I was going to say, Philadelphia. Yeah. And yeah, that was the one I remembered. Where the Liberty Bell is, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I knew that they were distinguished, but and set apart, and generally it's always been held that the D.C. was underneath the office at Philadelphia. Is that still true?
Well, D.C. is pretty much empty because their contractual agreements have been pretty much revoked. This in part is why D.C. is empty. Yeah. So the president and CEO of this entity called United States was one Donald John Trump. And Donald took this company into bankruptcy court in Tallahassee District Bankruptcy Court, May 4th of 2020. and you can look it up on what's called PACER. You have to go online. It's a federal court case site, and you have to establish an account. And then you're able to go peruse the country. And when Donald took United States into bankruptcy, he had already signed out the EOs, such as EO 13818 for the ending of human trafficking.
Which has not been, it was re-upped, renewed, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Now, unbeknownst to most people, we as living people have been kidnapped, trafficked, impersonated. They've practiced barratry against us, unlawful conversion. They have violated the Geneva Convention, the Hague Convention, the Anti-Slavery Act of 1926. And by unlawfully converting your birthright, they are capital crimes. This is why Donald signed out the EOs for devolution to unwind the corporation.
Do you think that's ongoing now? Is that underway?
Oh yeah, it's ongoing. So let me put something in context for you. If you watched Donald's inauguration in 2016, the military came out, and then Donald came out of the grandstand and he said, this was unlike any other election.
Yeah, I remember.
Indicating the military, are restoring and handing over power back to you, we the people.
Yeah.
Those whom he was referencing to had a certain status and standing as the creators of the unanimous declaration and their counterparties through time. And those are the American state citizens.
Like what you are right now, right?
Yep. So you get your nationality from your birth state, and you're a national of that state. But someone can step up and say, I'm going to help serve my state government. I will don this mantle of state citizenship. I have a permanent allegiance to my state. And then you can turn your back to your state and look at all the external legislation that come at you and deal with it. And only the state citizen can amend national law in the public law. They can vote on acceptance of treaties. And this is a part of American civics that they didn't want us to rekindle.
I don't know, but I'm thinking I took a civics class when I was in high school. I don't know that they do that anymore.
Oh, no, they don't. So Donald said he will end the Department of Education for a reason. It's infiltrated by a bunch of communists.
I don't think that's the only department that's infiltrated.
Oh, they're all.
Oh,
we were infiltrated by the likes of BLM and Antifa. We have other heinous actors here. We have the attorneys. We have the paid shills from Soros and other industrial banking interests. We've got WEF characters. So I was part of the National Litigation Committee, and we actually did an in-depth investigation of the National Security Council in 2021. We went into their background, their education, their high school, where they come from. And we had foreigners with top secret clearance and dual citizenship sitting on the National Security Agency.
Were
Wow.
some of them so-called enemies?
Well, you've got Rhodes Scholars, you've got Skull and Bones, you have banking interests.
But most of those are European then, not Asian or even Russian.
We have actually had a good standing treaty since 1858 with Russia. And they came to our aid twice and saved our bacon. They blockaded New York Harbor and San Francisco so that we wouldn't be invaded by the king. And this
Of England?
and this is what set off English Rothschild anger at taking out the Tsar. That's why they stretched him across the face of a cannon and shot it off.
You're talking about the Tsar of Russia.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they killed the whole family. One of them, I don't know exactly which Tsar it was, but they killed the whole family.
Yeah, it was Nicholas.
Nicholas, yeah.
Anyway, grandmother did escape, and that will eventually come out as well.
The grandmother of the Tsar?
Of the family. I don't know whether it's
Okay.
the mothers, but there will be details that come out. So recently, Anna wrote an article about how things traced to European gold bullion dealers out of the Netherlands being the financiers of a lot of stuff. So in the early 1700s, there was a maritime scandal called the Bottomry Bond Scandal. Well, they dusted this scandal off the shelf and retooled it, and that's what they're perpetrating against us right now.
What was it called?
Bottomry bonds. It basically was a giant insurance scandal, a fraud. They registered on paper fictitious merchant fleets and then declared them lost at sea and collected the bounty on it. Now think of the name on the birth certificate like a sailboat or a barge. The Marianne, the Cod.
Yeah, we're all lost at sea, I know.
Yeah, and so by killing off the corporation, they sought to seek the insurance that they had put behind the birth certificate as well as the money market values.
Or is that corporation able to collect on that insurance when they receive a death certificate?
That now has been called out in gross fraud. So this thing that happened on Tuesday is going to allow us, with our status and standing, to lawfully convert these foreign corporations and, if necessary, liquidate and dissolve them.
Can we just
Now,
stand back and
what
watch?
corporations are you talking about there?
Incorporated corporations.
Are you talking about a business, or are you talking about like a person? Because we're all corporations.
Okay. Well, not necessarily. You wear
Oh, okay.
multiple
So no,
hats.
we're not. Okay.
Okay, so you wear multiple hats and you just have to manage your relationship. When I said William Shakespeare said all the world is a stage, so you're wearing the hats of different actors, and you need to learn how to manage this stuff. So think of the different varieties of names, like shoes, and you're going to take them out of one jurisdiction and put them in a different one. So you're going to take them out of someone else's closet and put them in your closet. So you treat these names like Skechers, Reeboks, Nikes, Gucci, and no one gets to walk in your shoes unless they pay you and ask for your permission. And that's what you do with the deed of reconveyance. You end up executing your reversionary trust interest in the usufruct, canceling your role of donor because of usufructory bad management, and you call the U.S. bankruptcy trustees out on the table as trustees de tort. And in probate, no trustee wants to be called that. That's a criminal label. So template letters have been developed to assist people once they get to a management mindset and they can grasp this. And because of the advancements in the last 4 to 5 years, there are things that no longer have to be done that were required 5 years ago.
Oh,
Because,
that's great.
yeah, because we slayed the dragon along the way.
Yeah, great. And this mindset you're talking about, we all have to get into a different mindset and learn the vocabulary.
It's called self-governance.
Self-governance, yeah.
Unto thyself be true and govern thyself with critical logic and reason, and tame your emotions. That's self-mastery.
I mean, I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, I always feel that way when I talk to Mike.
Well,
Always.
I have a habit of fire hosing. This is why I developed the salt, pepper, and napkin visual. So if you take the salt, we American people are the salt of the earth. The pepper is the crown British territorial entity. You take a paper napkin. On one side you put for, and the other side of, and then you put the for side next to the salt shaker. This napkin represents the Constitution, from the Constitution for the United States of America to the British enterprise as a power-sharing business agreement. and the Brits are on the of side of it. And you do this to the other napkin and put the for on the salt side. You straddle it over the pepper and then slide the butter dish up to it. And the butter dish represents the Vatican Municipal Enterprise.
Oh my gosh. I haven't even visualized this yet.
So the Constitution of 1787 is the for. Give rise under authority to the Constitution of 1789 to the Brits, which gives rise to the Constitution of 1791 to the Vatican.
Oh my gosh.
And the living people do not exist under any of the power sharing agreements, because the Constitution for the United States of America was created by the American state citizen who stepped up into the Confederation, up into the Federal Republic, and the Federal Republic and the Confederation was laid aside during Lincoln's time. And because the Federation of States ran America in 1776 to 1781, it's more than competent to represent the states of the Union in international jurisdiction, and we don't have to extend a contract to anybody. No contract offered, no assumptions allowed. Anybody wants to attempt to do so, get off our lawn.
And no corrections entertained.
So when Donald was elected, the day after, the municipal operations bankruptcy, Chapter 7 international liquidation was ended, and the United States of America, Inc., under the Vatican operation, ceased to exist. This thing that we all grew up and thought was us, masquerading as us, is gone forever.
Since Tuesday, you mean?
And since the day after Donald's election in 2016.
Oh, since then, okay.
And so they've attempted to fire up something called the Office of the White House, Inc., as a municipal corporation, but the Federation caught it and said, no offer, no assumption, we don't recognize you as anything. And this is why the military never saluted Joey.
Yeah.
Now, the Federation extended a contract offer to Donald as Commander-in-Chief to protect America. This is where part of the devolution program came in, because as the last sitting president and CEO of that British Territorial Corporation, that naval contract of the Treaty of Peace of 1783 was extended.
And so was that where Bretton was put in charge of our Navy?
This is why Donald is the CIC of all branches.
Oh, of all branches now. Okay.
Yep. Because he holds a singular contract. Since he was the CIC before the dissolvement, that contract was extended to him and him only.
Okay.
Now, in 1866, there was a court case out of Indiana called Milligan Ex Parte. Now, in the federal system and the American system, they can switch court case citations backwards. So 72 US 2 or 71 US 2 is the court citation for Milligan. And you can rewrite that with 2 first. And so that is the notification to the military that a lawful civilian court is back in the land, and the district court, which back in the Civil War era was known as the carpetbagger courts, get noticed that there are now 2 separate and distinctive populations, and to be on the wherewithal of it.
And what were the 2 populations?
The Americans and the Brits. Since the Brits were listed as warrant officers in the Queen of England's naval services, they could haul a Brit into the district courts without answering anything.
Wow, I'm going to have to listen to this over again.
Okay, so
Oh,
I just
God.
went in and copied this court citation. Come on. Oh, come on. Okay, the citation is 71 US 2, 1866.
And are you putting that in the room?
I accidentally closed my window, so while we're engaged in conversation, I don't think Telegram is going to be very cooperative to me. So anyway, here on Washington, I'm the co-author of that document to the military.
Is that the one that was the ex parte or something?
Yep. So each state of the union is to issue their own notice to the military. Now, when I built the document, I put a caret there on it for Donald and recognized him as the commander-in-chief of the Amalgamated American Armed Forces. And Anna wrote an article about if all Donald did was bring the military home and made them landed soldiery, they will once again be honorable military. Because what Lincoln did in converting the military, they've been used as cheap commercial mercenaries for over a century and a half.
Oh, wow.
And the Civil War is actually recognized as a commercial mercenary action fought by our contractors using our sons and daughters and ancestors as expendables.
Mm. The truth has got to come out. People need to learn all this stuff. We need to have a history class somewhere and teach this to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's someone like me in almost every state now.
Constitution room. I think we found us a teacher.
Yes, absolutely.
Might not know his name, but he knows what to be called for dinner.
Yeah. Oh,
We're ready for a midnight snack now.
that's right.
Mm. Yeah.
Although it's not midnight. It's not midnight where Jim or Mike or Silver or whatever
it's
you
approaching
try to
9,
go
so
by.
You guys are sitting at 11 o'clock in Central Time.
I'm sitting at 11:50 here in Eastern Time. It's almost midnight.
Whereabouts are you at, dear?
I'm in Virginia.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I'm
recorded
sitting.
this, and let's do it again real soon. If we could get your recordings, and then we'll get them loaded and put them in the Constitution room, and let us know when you want to open it up for calls or Q&A or whatever. We'll do whatever you want.
Okay.
Is this recording going to be in the Constitution room, Salty?
Yeah, I recorded just our little team call just between the four of us. But the Constitution room, once he moves over there, we'll record those if he wants them, or drop the ones that he already has for them to start learning in advance to ask the right questions.
Okay.
Because this is deep. They're gonna, he's going really deep, and they're gonna have to dig in and then ask the questions.
Well,
but he's got the documents and everything already laid out, and then he's an excellent teacher with humor.
So one of the things we recognize is we have these splinter groups out here that have tried to reclaim the American way, so to speak, and they invariably don't bother to correct their status and standing. They go into these British military district courts, these admiralty courts, without the proper understanding or comprehension, and they don't master the vocabulary. It's like driving. Do you really drive, and do you truly comprehend what it is? Driving is a commercial act for profit upon the road, and if you're behind the wheel and you're not there with a shingle on the side of the car saying Missy's Flower Service or a delivery service, you may not be driving, except for some character may step off the curb and say, Uber, Lyft, and you slam on the brake, got you covered. Then you're making profit across the road, then you are a driver. But, sweetheart, you're heading for the store, grab the car keys. Well, we need milk, butter for dinner, and while you're there, grab me a 6-pack. Did I send you out the front door? No. Did you collect the fee? No. Then someone's not a driver.
Wow.
So under the Code of Federal Regulations 390.3, capital T, it cross-references with the Uniform Commercial Code 9-109, and they set this entire thing up under commercial activities. And the entire court system works by admissions and confessions of the words expressed that come out of your mouth. You don't know what you don't know, and that is your downfall.
That's powerful.
And there's this old book. Some people read parts of it and selectively interpret it. And it says, lean not unto thy own understanding.
Oh, yeah, the Bible.
Okay. And so, could you recognize if you're in the middle of the tribulation period?
I was telling my sister today, I feel like we are in the middle of it.
Okay, so when the abomination of desolation stands where it ought not, you will know the time and the season.
Yeah.
That is the Statue of Liberty disguised as the statue of Saturn. standing in New York Harbor, given as a gift by the French Masons. And liberty is something that was given to merchant seamen when they pull into port. They got shore leave and liberty. Yes, everything's connected.
I just need to learn a new way to talk, don't I? And to think about things.
Well, yeah, and so the 1856 Bouvier's dictionary is the last American Congress approved dictionary. Black's Law is the dictionary of the sea. And the ancient Phoenicians were sea traders, and they migrated through time out of the Mediterranean, Middle East, and eventually they actually settled in England. And so the etymology of our languages, such as phony baloney, is referencing the Phoenicians. We're never taught to think about where some of these little colloquial cultural isms that we've gotten, where do they come from? How did we get there? So the word name is an Englishized word for nom de guerre, which is a name at war. The name on your birth certificate is a name at war created by the English. It's patented by the English, and you're using Crown property as a franchisee. That is the role, the hat you wear. You are the authorized representative to a trust business franchise, and you don't know what you're doing. That's why your picture exists on the driver's license. And the name on your driver's license is spelled in all caps. So it's a business entity created under Roman law, Capitis Diminutum Maximus. And our public education system in the English department does not teach you how to use the alphabet. Oh, they teach you about capitalization of person, place, or thing, but a person is a thing. They don't teach you how to properly use the lowercase letters, because under Roman law, the lowercase letters are the highest right of power and authority under Roman law. So when you look at the little I and that little dot, that is the head of man. And what happens when you decapitate a man? It goes to all caps, and all caps is a dead fictional thing. That's why the name on driver's license is in all caps. It's a dead fictional entity. And if you get your checkbook and get a really strong magnifier and look at where you put your John Hancock, you'll see that that is not a line. It's micro-printed repetitively. Authorized representative. So you're the authorized representative of what? Uh-huh. They done us good.
Yeah.
So you all have something called the individual master file on file with the Internal Revenue Service. They were headquartered in San Juan, Puerto Rico, but the heat got turned on and they've relocated to the Northern Marianas Islands. Puerto Rico.
When did they do that? Just recently?
Within the last 2 years, because they were making a hopsketch effort to go invade China, and China caught on and closed the door on them.
Huh. Yeah, I figured it was pretty recent because I remember them being in the wherever it was, Philippines or Puerto Rico or somewhere.
Mm-hmm. So this IMF file, this individual master file, makes reference to some kind of activity under Title 27, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and each of you have one. Anna found out that she's running a rum distillery in Barbados. Mine said I was a drug dealer, but let me throw the caveat there. You know, when you go to the doctor's office and he gives you these little sample packs, I'm supposed to be running from the likes of Pfizer, Bayer, whoever pharmaceutical company, and dispensing these little packages. So I asked, well, if I'm doing this, where's my office? How many employees do I have? Where's my checking account? Crickets.
Yeah.
So anyway, under Shelby County versus Norton versus Shelby County, which was a court case over 100 years ago. 2 years ago, there was West Virginia versus EPA, and recently the Chevron deference case. This is going to unwind the 350 plus agencies created by FDR, and it's going to scale down government.
Certainly
so the
will.
municipal government and the British territorial government have been double dipping us side by side.
That's called the municipal and the what?
Territorial.
Territorial. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The British Crown. There's a lot of history that never made it into the books. So this will be a emotional roller coaster for most people.
I think so.
We ended up trusting the wrong smiling people who kiss babies and turn around and put a knife on our back, and then they took our wallet.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Yeah, they took our wallet every chance they got. They got into our wallet and removed everything.
Okay, so since the people in general have been categorized as British subject citizens living on American soil, you do not have a right as a foreign citizen to something called an allodium. And a freehold does not apply to you. When you get a mortgage, you get a leasehold agreement. And you register and give over title to the so-called property to the crown in the King's Attorney Regis Trust. So until you correct your status and standing back to a living man and woman, you're subject to progenitor, and that's the allegiance to the king, and entailments, because you have a local overlord. And this is how the county corporation, as a British territorial enterprise, has the right to tax you and can steal you blind of your property.
Does that
One needs
stop?
to learn how to come out from underneath this.
Does that stop when we register our name and take it to
You're
the
not
state?
going to ever register anything ever once you submit these documents.
Okay. Well, so what do you think? I mean, what are you calling these documents, and what do they do?
Okay, the one pager reclaims your birthright from the birth state that you were born on.
Okay.
So for you, Todd, as a Californian, you're reclaiming your California birthright.
Okay.
California was one of the 34 states of the Union before the Civil War.
And so is Missouri, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Where I live now.
Yeah, I'm sure Virginia was.
Okay, and then when you do the two witness testimonies, it's evidence that someone validates that you exist and they know you.
And then what should I do after that's recognized?
Okay, you go to your state assembly and there is a contact page for each state that you just fill out contact information, email, phone number. It'll say what county you're on.
That's from that website.
Yep. And so you'll eventually get a hello. And if there's a local recording secretary, that local recording secretary will be put in contact with you.
Okay.
Now, some states are further along. I'm one of the original 6 recording secretaries on Washington. We're now like 25 strong statewide. And we're a state with 39 counties. Our goal is to get 2 or 5 on each county. We're a state of 7.78 million people doing a rescue operation for 7 million plus people with a staffing of 25.
Wow.
Wow.
Some of the states out there only have 4 or 5 recording secretaries.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
It's always more work.
Well, it's going to be very, very rewarding. So in 2009, the Federal Reserve went bankrupt and they were invited to come back and renegotiate a 50-year gold lease, and they did not. So the Federation of States asked the states what they thought about bringing back a gold-based monetary system. April 5th, that was proclamated in an international notice. It's called the American Federated Dollar. And it's part of an ounce of gold. And because the Federal Reserve chained the monkey to the printing press, due to inflation, the current exchange rate is 234 Federal Reserve notes to 1 AFD.
Is that why there's so much rumor about how these other foreign currencies that are going to be reinstated or have astronomical values?
Because they're going back to gold.
How are they going to establish a new gold rate standard? You know, like back in when Roosevelt took it away from us, it was only $35, and it, you know, as late as the 70s, it was listed as 42 to 45.
Oh, but you have to go back to when FDR did the gold confiscation. Our ancestors only were given $20 an ounce for it.
Yeah.
So he admitted to confiscating 20,000 tons, 6,000 financed the Fed, and the other 14 did the IMF, the World Bank, and the Bank of International Settlements. Well, the Federation of States has ordered a grand demand accounting of these institutions as we effectively own them.
That's a good thing.
Oh, it's a very good thing.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough silver in existence to repay what they owe us.
Will it take an act of Congress to reclaim that?
Nope. Federation of States has already redeemed a couple of 1934 gold bonds. It's in possession of this gold safekeeping receipts. Unbeknownst to a lot of people, in 1895, the U.S. Navy started cashiering our gold in the Philippines because the company under Lincoln was getting ready to structure a bankruptcy. And they were going to put America under liquidation because there was not enough gold present to pay the so-called debt.
Do they have an estimate of how much the value of that gold is?
There's so much freaking gold. So
I heard they got a mile long, and it was stacked from the bottom all the way to the top, a whole mile of it ever at the Vatican.
I've got a picture of a corridor I'll post up for you guys.
Okay.
Basically, it's at the edge of a corner looking down the hallway. There's gold racks on both sides, and you get about 150 feet of good visible gold.
And it has
and supposedly 650 airplanes is what it took to get the gold back here.
From the
Oh
Vatican.
my goodness.
The likes of C-17 and Globemasters.
Is that from the Vatican or from the Philippines?
This is from the Vatican.
That's what's been said. I remember reading that report.
The gold over in the Philippines has not been brought back. But while they were going through the caves up there, they stumbled into a side room, supposedly, and it had an echo in it. And it was filled with very ancient field-grade gold, to which there are no known written records.
Field grade, is that kind of like when people went out and, you know, like the settlers here in the United States, they went out and during the gold rush and they got all the gold? Is that what field gold is like?
Let's say you did your campfire right on top of the gold vein, did a hell of a good bonfire, wake up in the morning and dust out the ashes, and you find this yellow glintly stuff in the bottom of your fire.
Yeah.
That kind of gold.
Yeah, okay.
Is that what is being held by Rodriguez Estate?
No. That's
separate.
modern gold.
That's separate. I ask that because that was what was reported as the funding for the eventual humanitarian efforts that everybody goes on and on about. And I cannot find any record of how the Rodriguez estate and the that other trust is tied to these monies. And even though they've been multiplying with compound interest for over 150 years.
Actually, there are historic trusts dedicated to the improvement of mankind that are over 400 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And the Davila accounts are one of them. I have a document that numerous pages, and since I did a lot of math, commas and decimals don't bother me.
Yeah.
But when I see 26 commas in a number, how do you express that?
I have no idea what that would be called.
Exactly. And you have like 20 pages of it?
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
I think it'll buy a pair of tennis shoes and a basket of chicken.
Could rebuild the whole world.
Well,
why can't they pay off our national debt?
I'm in possession of two documents. One indicates that in early December of 2016, the Office of Military Settlements reached into HSBC Bank, pulled out $21 trillion, and gave it to Donald in February of 2017. They then reached into HSBC and pulled out $300 trillion because of our foreign trade arrangement with China. The Chinese were indicating that we Americans are deal breakers and whatnot. We don't pay our debts. Well, it was found out that we had some black hat military generals in both ends of the pipeline, in the Chinese military and in ours, who had their fingers in the cookie jar.
That money was supposed to go to China in payment for their products.
Uh-huh.
And we held it.
We didn't hold it.
Okay.
It was purloined sideways and didn't go to pay the workers properly. That's why China, the CCP, was not too happy with us.
And what year was that? 2020?
Yeah, I'll have to look the documents. I'll have to ask if I'm allowed to share that set of documents.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I have them is I'm on the Washington Assembly Banking Committee.
Mm-hmm.
I sit on that committee. I am the Sign in America coordinator. I'm on the vetting committee. I help screen incoming office holders.
And didn't you say you were like a justice on the Supreme Court?
Okay, so I'm not a judge. I'm an American justice.
Yeah, a justice, not a judge.
Yep. And so I'm the co-author of the Milligan Notice to the military. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, the Adjutant General to the Chiefs of Staff. Space Force got notified, as well as Donald got it at Mar-a-Lago. The Washington State Constitutional Sheriff's Association got it. The Washington State Association of Sheriffs, Counties, and the 139 courts of the judiciary of the state of Washington got it.
Can you document any legislation that's been passed and order, where an order has been signed that puts any of these things in the I guess in the pipeline?
Well, you can see certain things, like we hammered the Washington State Bar Association, and with the fraud and treason notice and our notice of this corporate hierarchy here, they lowered the bar standard such that you no longer have to take the bar exam to join the bar. So a blind man can limbo under the standard. So the era of the ambulance chasing unqualified attorney has been let loose. We had 3 Western Washington County prosecutors step down this last cycle. One of them was a one-term wonder, and when the newspaper interviewed him and asked how come he was not running for re-election, he goes, well, the legal landscape in Washington has changed, and it's time for me to move on. We did that.
Does that explain why a current presidential candidate has no bar record in California?
The bar is the British accredited registry for solicitors. They are foreign agents and recognized as the King of England's civilian militia, stealing American assets and handing it back over to the crown. And they're on the run.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Unbeknownst to most people, because of the way we have not been properly taught, when you look at your county courthouse staff and your state staff, no one's functioning in the capacity of an American, and the unanimous Declaration of Independence does not apply to them.
The bar members.
Anybody in your county building working for the county corporation is not functioning as an American.
Oh my. Do they know that?
Under a court case called the Clarefield Doctrine, no corporation can grant another corporation immunity. So the United States Incorporated cannot grant immunity to the state of Missouri, who cannot grant immunity to the county in your neighborhood.
Wow.
And they're not covered by the Declaration of Independence.
Does that make them not liable for decisions that harm the public?
We found out that even the Bar Association was compartmentally trained. It keeps plausible deniability at the really high levels. And that goes into the oversight of like the International Bar and the U.S. Bar. So they don't know what they don't know. And the keys to this entire thing in the finance realm is hidden in the Series 6, 7, and 10 bond licenses. Stock traders, bond traders, their respective knowledge is compartmentalized. Your traffic ticket, once it's issued, is sold on the court registry investment system as a high yield short-term bond.
Wow.
and the ticket is set up as last name, comma, first name, middle name, because they're treating you as the merchant mariner corporate entity and a municipal franchise operator deemed as a slave owned by the Vatican and automatically defined as guilty in law.
My goodness.
That's why those courts have a 97% conviction rate.
Yeah. Is all of these things, these different subjects, I guess, are they broken down in ways that we can present them and get around them in smaller bites?
Yeah.
By audio?
We can do it by audio, but we have a whole slew of documents that we can share around. So one of the things I really suggest to people is to get a thumb drive. Yeah. And I recommend a specific one made by Kingston. It's an all-metal housed one with a lanyard ring in it. You can put it on your keychain. Since most people don't go very far without their keys, they can sit down at lunch, plug it into a laptop, and they can do 20 minutes of studying. When they get to a certain point, they can have a decent conversation with someone and say, hey, I got something I'm willing to share. Do you have a laptop? Hand it to me. Drag the file over. Share it. Read it.
And that can be had on Amazon?
eBay has the best prices.
Okay.
And it's a model specific. D as in dog, T as in Tom, S as in Sam, E as in Edward. That is DT SE-9.
Okay.
For $20 to $30, you can get yourself a phenomenal thumb drive.
Okay.
I have 6 of them.
Now, does that work in cooperation with people's crypto wallets?
Zengo makes a thumb drive version of a thumb drive wallet for heightened security.
But it's another device separate. Yep. Okay. Do they need to be kept in a Faraday cage to protect them from electromagnetic pulse?
Well, anything electronic fares better against an EMP in a Faraday cage.
Yeah. But you said it was already in a metal case. So
yep.
I just assumed that was probably the purpose, wasn't it?
Well, I haven't peeked inside mine, so I don't know how the internal construction is set up.
Yeah. Wow. Well, man, oh man. Thank you.
So I didn't mean to drag this off so long, and I noticed but RJ already dropped off. So I think for the first night of red pilling, you folks have done an amazing job of trying to assimilate this stuff.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. You took me back through this from last night, and it began to solidify. My head is not quite as mushy as it was last night, but it's a lot to take in.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I haven't dropped off. I just turned my volume off. That's all.
Okay.
I'm still listening.
Well, kudos for you to hang in, because I know it's after midnight where you're at.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. Definitely.
Hmm.
It's
So I think
12,
I'll gather up
12:30.
some. Yeah, I'll gather up some documents, and I'll make some references. So going back to the American common law, our common law courts hold superior, co-contemporaneous, superior jurisdiction. We are the employers and delegators to the contractors. And that is something the people need to look at themselves. Are you the employer, or are you subject as an employee?
And this is under common law?
Mm-hmm. It's the law of the land.
Are you saying then that all people, not just us, but all citizens of our nation, will have to go through these measures to reclaim our name and our status?
Yep.
Eventually, everybody will have to do these things,
Yep.
and so we'd be
And
just
you
ahead of the
will not
game.
be granted your right as and recognition as an American without getting off the couch.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm choking on you.
That's okay. Happens to the best of us.
All right, we can do this. Any do you have people with a history record of knowledge that can tell us how long these measures took in their specific state or region?
Like I said, it depends on how many recording secretaries you have accessible. Now, a recording secretary functions as an international notarial witness on behalf of the Federation of States in support of your respective state assembly. Okay?
And is there authority granted under the Articles of Federation that was
We
done in like the 1760s?
we are the liaisons of the Federation of States. So think of us as like miniature secretaries of states or notaries, but functioning as in an international jurisdiction on the opposite side of the notary public that you might find down the street.
Yeah, yeah.
I just function in a different jurisdiction.
Okay.
The public notary or the notary public functions in the C jurisdiction. We function in the international jurisdiction.
When you say we, are you talking about the state of Washington?
No, we we recording secretaries.
Oh, okay. And are you talking about the whole federation secretaries,
Well,
recording secretaries?
well, there's a federation level international secretary or recording secretary, and there are state recording secretaries. Now,
Okay.
federation recording secretary, I don't know the entire scope of their authorities, but I'm way down the totem pole. Recording secretary can move about anywhere within your state to do this function. So here in Washington, we have what we call the road show. We will publish that we're coming into a community. We'll advertise And even beforehand, we'll do a peppering of like business cards and whatnot. And on a certain, say a Saturday or a Sunday, we're going to be at this location. Come to a meeting. You're invited.
Now, I haven't seen anything like that in Virginia.
I know Virginia's assembly is very small.
And since it was one of the first 13, I'm surprised that it's not, a little bit more filled out and really
Well,
booming.
with the education issue, we've recognized that the younger generation from 40 and under have recognized in them that the United States or the U.S. history is all they've ever been known. And they were left that to think that is American history. And for them to say and wrap their head around, you mean, I was lied to in school? And I was a really good student. And they've gone on to get master's degrees and stuff. And they find out that an incomplete understanding of the word or the world or their life.
Well, are they learning this in upper level college? Are you saying that it is being taught correctly?
No. Even places like Prager University have gaps in their education. They teach about the Constitution, but one of the things I've noticed is which side of the Constitution are they teaching it from? Are they teaching it as the employer, or are they teaching it from the standpoint of what our employees are supposed to be recognizing to us?
Okay. So you're saying employees there as though they are the teachers or the government or something else that's helping us to learn something.
No, the British territorial United States government was a service contractor. So think of this as a donut stand, not making enough money selling donuts, decided to go into governmental service because it could make a better buck. But people don't recognize it as a donut stand.
That's true.
Man, oh man.
And the way you can tell a sincere customer of the donut stand is they walk around with a glazed look on their face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Our cops resemble that.
Well, here's another issue. The average cop in the field, over time, we found out they have an IQ no more than 105. And they're poorly trained. And under a court case called Mack and Prinz, which went before the U.S. Supreme Court, the Supreme Court said, you sheriffs can uphold the Constitution if you want to. If is a conditional discretionary choice. If you want to uphold the Constitution, you may or may not choose to do so.
I was thinking the sheriffs were the only ones that could really uphold the Constitution.
Well, we found out that the sheriff is a sub-office of the corporate county in the de facto. They are not the land and soil jurisdiction sheriffs.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
when you look at their sheriff's badges, at the end of the points are little balls that represents a constrained and captive authority.
That's what that represents. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's like the presidential podium had this round background around the eagle and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That
With
was a
all the
limited,
stars.
constrained authority and representation as well.
Oh, wow.
All this
So if
symbolism.
you look at some pictures from Trump in 16, say Joe in 22, you'll see picture differences.
Huh.
About the
Something's
seal.
missing.
The seal. Yeah, the seal was different.
Yeah, and that's why.
Now they've re-added those things since then.
Constrained representation.
So much. So much to digest.
A lot to digest, yes.
Yeah, and you need to spend some time in the mirror.
Yeah.
And what is that going to do for me if I look at myself in the mirror and say, you've got a lot to digest?
Well, so how do you feel about being lied to? How do you
Oh,
feel
God.
about building your life on a mountain of lies, not knowing they were lies? So, really, what do you know that's true? So, I was sitting in a law archive researching something when the light bulb went on. Click, poof. And I sat up and was like, oh my, half of everything I know is wrong and the other half is uh, uh, so uh, 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 and it's like, okay, so what's true? Well, I know how to tie my shoes. I know which end of the dinner fork to use. I can zip myself up with a zipper. I can put the lid down, and I was challenging every assumption of how I knew something because your world gets a little rocky.
Absolutely. When you realize everything that you have ever been taught was a lie, you have to question everything.
Yep. So when your life, half of everything, it just makes you examine flowers and trees and sidewalks and the street signs differently. Even the street signs
Yep.
have specific meaning to them.
Yep, don't they? I tell you. And the numbers on our house and all of that stuff, it's like they have really taken us for a loop for, so long.
Well, when you go down the street and you see the blue and white numbers on the signs,
Yeah, those are route numbers or something, aren't they? Or
house numbers handed over to the authority of the United Nations.
house numbers handed over to the United Nations. How nice. They are not our friends, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And there's already been one reported border skirmish at Mexico-Texas border where blue hats did not fare well.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And who was against them?
Marines.
Oh, Marines. Okay.
Yeah.
That's different.
Mm-hmm.
because they're not there. That's not their jurisdiction, if you think about it.
Well, the Marines are the land component of the U.S. Navy landing force.
Oh, they are okay. I didn't realize they were the land part. Okay, that's
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yeah. That's why it's the Marines that protect the White House and not the Army.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the Marines, because of the international sea contract with the Crown, and Washington, D.C. is International Neutral Negotiation Zone. It's actually foreign turf under a conditional use permit between Maryland and Virginia.
Yeah, definitely. They are foreign land on right there in the middle of the United States.
Well, it was conditionally leased, so to speak. Well,
Oh, okay.
one side has already revoked the conditional use permit. So if you went online to look at the DC turf, it's going to look odd to you.
What is it going to look like?
Well, it's not 10 square miles as something if you went and got a 1980s map.
Well, is it bigger or smaller?
Smaller.
It's smaller because one was revoked. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So which side was revoked, Maryland or Virginia?
I believe it's Maryland.
Okay. I was wishing it was Virginia. Okay.
Yeah, we live in interesting times, learning all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely. There's just so much to learn because we were never taught the right stuff. There's just so much to learn.
And to
A
find
whole
out that we
different way
trusted.
to, even a whole different way to think, if you think about it, you know?
Yep.
So much.
So in the backdrop, I've got reports of Home Depot and Lowe's closing a good number of stores. So nationwide, America's largest trucking firm went Chapter 7 and is out of business. And they handled about 30% of the nationwide trucking. So our trucking industry is now in the hands of the independents.
Who are the independents?
The little guy that owns his own truck.
Oh, those people. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So you're talking like the one that went bankrupt, or there were several that went bankrupt. That would be like Roadway or Connex or Conway. Those things you're saying that they went bankrupt, and they went under they've gone under new names.
No, not new name.
I
They're
just think
gone.
well, I think there are some that just went all owner operator. I don't know.
Well, if the company sold off the truck to the operator and made them an independent, that would make sense to some degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know that's true with CFI taking over Conway and Prime taking most of the transportation from Yellow. I mean, it's Roadway because Yellow still exists.
Mm-hmm.
But all they did was break the contracts from the unions. And
many a union is about to get punched in the nose.
Well, they're already weak.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I say that because I'm a Teamster, and under the car haul contract, we've just been barely hanging on. And I hate to admit it, but it took the Congress to refund some of that money that had been confiscated under nefarious conditions to fund political campaigns, and they fleeced our trust fund for our pensions.
Yep.
And when I left I mean, we've been getting letters explaining how the condition was dire, and we were basically a state of bankruptcy. We've been receiving that for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
But they did get some funding thanks to that printing press the monkey was running, as you were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and to extend the life of that pension fund.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Lots of details coming out. So I'm looking at the traditional federal fiscal window in October is when I think they're going to hit the switch.
What do you mean hit the switch? What's going to switch?
The release of currency.
Oh,
Supposed,
okay. The RV. Okay.
Okay, so the Federation of States sent 55,000 tons of gold to the mint to have eagles printed or stamped out. Okay.
What,
The
like
operation,
1 ounce eagles? Is that what you're thinking?
eagles of different sizes.
Oh, okay.
And there was a big discussion and hissy fight over who had the legal right to run and operate the mint, because that printing operation contract was within the Federal Republic.
Federal is municipal.
No,
right?
it is our American end of the line contractor created from the Confederation.
Under the U.S. Treasury?
So you have the Federation of States creating a contract entity called Confederation, which then created the Federal Republic. And Lincoln laid that stuff to the side. And our American Federation told the Brits, why would we ever allow you back in control of our money after the last 160 years?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And yet they still are printing paper and issuing digital currency.
Well, the central bank digital dollar has been told will not be acknowledged by the Federation of States as a valid American authorization.
Right, but something from the Treasury, that might be different.
Well, a lot of things like the Office of the Treasury from the Federal Bureau, there's things that are going to be discovered under FDR's restructuring, that an office within an office. And so as this stuff gets discovered and hashed out,
I'm reading over and over and over again that Steve Mnuchin is in control of what you're talking about, these changes, not the current Secretary of Treasury.
mm-hmm. I think Trump put a lot of pieces in place out of the limelight.
Why have we had to go through this movie, for an extra 4 years when they could have done all this 4 years ago?
It's because they had to pull the controllers out of their high places, and once they broke the communication with the middle management, the ground forces lost leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's something called the Council. The Federation of States issued an extraterritorial arrest warrant with extreme prejudice for these characters.
Is that the Council of 300? Is that what
No,
that is?
it was in D.C.
A council in D.C.?
Yeah, our so-called American Congress was overrun, and they had installed basically Nazi sympathizers, and they were going to utilize the corporation and the American people as the whipping boy of the world. And Trump caught them all. Had he come out in 2020 with everything, we would already be in open, armed conflict in every neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
And he was counseled to not make statements that would cause that to occur.
Right. So we're going to find out about something called Odin.
Yeah.
And
Project
it's an acronym.
Odin.
It's an acronym for a military operation.
Yeah. Project Odin.
Yep.
And what did Odin do?
It's observe primarily, and the N stands for neutralize.
Okay. Is the I for international or?
Intervene.
Oh, intervene. Okay. And neutralize.
So they identify and neutralize various threats up and down the food chain of the likes of BLM, Antifa, the WEF. This is why he has gone through this exposure of dragging some very famous people. This guy's a great guy. And people go, never heard of him. And they do this net search and go, this guy's a Rhodes Scholar. He's part of the WEF, Council of Three. What the hell is he doing? Well, what he's doing is he's dragging these guys out of the closet into the daylight for the whole of the world to see.
Yeah.
Are there indictments sealed to take out? I mean, we know, I've heard many times that it's over 500,000, but that was 4 years ago.
Well, the last time I looked, it was 447,000, and each indictment can hold up to 99 co-conspirators in the indictment.
Yeah, that's what I've
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. But isn't that international?
We have like 8.5 million people on our soil that they would have to deal with.
You're talking about the illegal immigrants.
No.
Oh.
The compromised local government folks, up and down from your neck of the neighborhood to Washington, D.C. There's an entire food chain.
Oh boy! So the assassination attempt and God's intervention was more than what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying basically in October we should expect, because of the financial. Is that because of the budget coming into the new budget coming into play, that financially that will cause this disruption and fall or crash, and it will all have to be reinstated or brought out from the ashes? Am I getting it right?
Close. So when they have a financial issue and the government shuts down,
Yeah.
you know, they've shut Congress down and whatnot of
Yeah.
DC.
Yeah.
Imagine that same time frame on steroids publicly announced.
Uh-huh. But they've been masterful about doing continuing resolutions to just keep extending this charade and
Yeah.
backing it
Mhm.
with counterfeit money.
Fiat
Really.
dollar. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fiat dollar.
Well, with the advancements of CGI and rubber mask and everything else,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so much easier to perpetrate a green screen fraud.
Well, Mr. Cottrell always talked about the perp walk and
Mm-hmm.
waiting for the rats to be handcuffed and walked and on the cameras. And you're saying that that is what we're about to see?
I think that perp walk has already been done. And I think what you're going to see is the camera evidence of it. And one of the things I wouldn't put any hesitation on is they have like this grand thing on stage, 20, 30 governmental officials, and they all reach back and rip off their rubber mask and go, surprise.
Are they going to be? Are they actually going to be people under the mask, or is it going to be just an AI robot?
Well, that's a good question.
Well, they're very good at imitators.
Well, we're going to find out, supposedly, that the world has been over 100 years more advanced behind the scenes than we on the ground have been allowed to enjoy, to know, to participate in.
Yeah. We've
We
been
have
held
over,
back for sure.
yeah.
But yet, I mean, they measure progress in mankind and like at an industrial rate that we have traveled so far in the last 50 years that
Well, it's because,
we can't
well,
imagine them or understand it.
well, between getting fluoridated and it dropping the
Yeah.
average character's IQ 15 to 20 points.
Yes. It's
That
terrible.
explains it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, folks. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I got to digest this stuff.
Yeah. So thank you very much for your time. And I think, see, today's Thursday. We got the weekend holiday. So I hope you guys enjoy the holiday. I will be in and out. Let's work on a plan. Put this stuff in little modules.
You know what I still don't have is your YouTube. Did you put your YouTube address in here?
I was looking for it, and with all the recent purging that YouTube and media has been doing, I didn't even hardly find anything for the Washington Assembly up on the Odyssey channel. So we may have been purged.
Okay. But do you have any of those videos yourself that are not on YouTube or Odyssey that you have on your laptop or your computer or something?
I'm very well might.
They were probably demonetized and therefore harder to find. They're not in the algorithm for search.
Oh, okay. So on Odyssey, I find our monthly state meeting. Okay. Let's see how far back I can go. 5 months, a year, 2 years. Okay, I'm going to have to spend some time searching.
Yeah, if you have any of your videos that you've done, we can add that to the room and people can start listening to some of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Like I said, I got to do a little search because with all the funky monkey interference from the powers that want to be.
Yeah, the ones that want to shut all of the truth down.
Mm-hmm.
So, RJ, you'll talk to Salty about um, can we promote the Constitution Room? And
Um, yeah, we can promote the Constitution room, but not our team room.
okay, okay. Well, I mean, these are going to show up on the Constitution Room,
That's
right?
where Salty wants to put them on the Constitution
Yeah.
room. Yeah, where
Okay.
everybody can hear them.
Okay.
And she
I
wants to
don't.
also add them to her website and to YouTube.
Well, I just wanted to know where it's appropriate to make comments about the conversation and knowledge that we're being blessed with, and a lot of people that are in the living room, so to speak, they don't they're not even subscribed yet to the Constitution Room, and so
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just imagining that would be a good thing to promote and allow people to gain their own knowledge at their own speed, because it's very impactful. It takes a while to get it all done, and I don't know that it's ever all going to be done, accomplished to be in to be learned by an individual. It's
I
going to have
agree.
to
I mean,
almost be shared.
it's a lot of
Yeah,
information, that's for sure.
yeah. Well, I
And
think we can.
I'm sure we're gonna end up having to have just a call where people can come on and ask questions,
Yeah.
and Mike will hopefully be there and answer. You know,
Well, I'm glad it wasn't open forum tonight, because it would have we would be on this call till daylight,
oh,
and
absolutely,
you know
absolutely.
it takes so much to cover that
That's
ground.
that's why I'm thinking we need to get some of his videos out there where
Yeah.
people can start hearing this, and
Well,
they'll have questions and they can write them
yeah.
down and eventually get them answered.
Well, I mean, honestly, this is honestly more important knowledge than even our digital currency,
Yeah,
coinage,
I agree. I agree.
because I
And
mean that's
I was trying to get Salty to do something a long time ago because I've been talking to Mike for a long time,
well,
and I've been trying to get Salty to, but then Jester came in, and she promoted Jester and all that he was doing,
well,
and
that's
so that
okay. I mean, they were imposters. They,
yeah,
they had good intentions, and
yeah,
they just weren't open and we'll just say that they just weren't open and transparent.
yeah, and Jester just he kept insinuating that he was going to eventually get to the point where people could, you know, become a state sovereign, and but he never got there.
Well, yeah, and because it's kind of it's a loaded gun. And if you're
Yeah.
not careful, you'll turn it on yourself.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
I, I'm out of words. Yeah, we need to get this out. That's what we need to
Yeah.
do. We just need to get it out. And I've been thinking that for a long time. And
Well,
I'm glad that Salty finally,
yeah. Well,
decided to go ahead and have Mike, Jim. What would you like to be called?
which is better? 57.
Well, all of you now are in my inner circle of friends, so call me Mike.
Okay, okay. 'Cause-
I think Salty fell asleep.
Yeah,
Mm,
Salty. I don't know where Salty is. She might have gone
But
to bed.
it's my button shows that she's still here, but she's muted.
yeah.
I see her. She muted herself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get back together and do a little refining of intent and whatnot.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Do some more
For
planning of how we're
Yeah.
going to get this out to people.
for roughly a
Well,
week from now.
Wednesday night sounds good to me.
Okay. That's up to RJ and Salty, not to me.
Well, I'm fine on Wednesday. That would be fine with me.
Okay. So you guys enjoy your weekend. I thank you very much for your time.
And thank you very much for your time. My goodness.
Thank you.
This
Thank you very
wasn't quite
much.
as long. I just want to say, Todd, that the last time I sat and talked with Mike, we spent at least 8 hours on the phone. It wasn't all at one. It wasn't
Yeah.
one straight 8 hours. It was
Yeah.
2 hours here and 2 hours here, and I mean he just took me through from way back
Well,
to the present as to what's been going on and what's happening.
it's impressive, isn't it, to be done with no
It's
notes?
I don't know how he does it. I'll
Yeah.
be honest with you. Okay, well, I need to get to bed because I'm
I
going to
do
be getting
too.
up early.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I'll fall
Okay,
asleep
you
on the
two.
couch.
Thank you very much, and
Thank you
uh,
very much.
good night. Night,
Good
Salty.
night.
Good night.
I, I'm going to try to save this recording if I can. But anyway, y'all have a good night. We'll see you around. Let's
Good
see.
night.
Good night.